if you've been thinking about opening a high yield savings account and the Capital One keeps coming up on your list, stay right there because I'm about to break down everything you actually need, the good, the not so good, and the stuff they don't put on the website. So let's get right into it. Real quick here, who is Capital One to begin with? Because I think a lot of people know the name from either the credit card commercials, but don't realize how big this company actually is. Now, Capital One was founded back in 1994, so they're not some random startup. They've also grown into one of the top 10 biggest banks in the United States. They do credit cards, which honestly are some of the most popular and well rated credit cards out there. In fact, my first credit card ever was a Capital One credit card. My line was 500 bucks at the time when I was 18 years old. I felt awesome. I was, oh man, I can travel now. That was really those days when I was much younger, 18 years old. Life is much better now. Don't get me wrong. Now, auto loans is something that they also provide. They also provide CD, certificates of deposit, which we talked about in the previous video, how they can help you. They also got checking and, of course, savings accounts, which is what we are going to be focused on today. The point is this is a legit established institution, not some just random app that downloaded or that got started like back in 2025. So that matters where you're parking your money somewhere. In fact, this is the building that I drive through almost on a daily basis. So this is in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. They have two or three massive buildings now. And it's actually quite nice. Like I went there to hang out a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, excuse me, with some friends, and it was awesome. Now, with that being said, before I even tell you what Capital One offers with respect to the high yield savings, I want to give you my personal checklist. And honestly, I want you to just screenshot this and steal it right now and use it for any bank that you are evaluating now or in the future. Now, first, it's what's the APY? That's very important to know because that's literally the whole point of a high yield savings account. Second, are there fees or minimum deposits because a high APY doesn't mean much if they're quietly charging you monthly. Also, how many withdrawals can you make per month? You want at least six. That's the standard and bottom line. And fourth, of course, it's the FDIC insurance. This is definitely a non negotiable. It means if the bank goes under or something happens to it, the government has you back up to $250,000 per account per depositor. And fifth, and this is something that people underestimate, last but not least here, is does the brand feel trustworthy to you? Because if you don't trust it, if you don't have that level of confidence, you won't use it consistently. And consistency at the end of the day, it's the whole point of your savings. So, with that being said, if we haven't met yet, my name is Alex Isidro. I am a dad, husband, engineer. And here, my goal is to help you make the most informed financial decisions so you can increase your income, build and protect your financial security. Now, if you find this video helpful, like it, subscribe to the channel, and the Capital One is for you today. Sign up with the links in the description to get started. Now, here's where we get into the actual numbers. So, as of February, March 2026, Capital One 360 is offering 3.3%, which is kind of a standard nowadays. It's very average. Most accounts out there are between 3.3 and 3.6. Some are even daring to go all the way to 4.0. And here's something I really like about them compared to some competitors. It's the flat rate. So it doesn't matter if you have 500 or 500,000 in there, you are getting the same 3.3%. There's no tier nonsense. Now, is there an opening bonus? Not for the savings account. There's a $250 bonus on their checking account if you are interested in that. But for savings, nothing right now, at least nothing that I've found. And it is, of course, FDIC insured up to 250K. They don't have minimum deposits or fees. And so the barrier to entry to start saving with this organization is basically nothing, which is great, especially if you are just starting out and you building that savings account. Now, here's a screenshot from the website right from there, 3.3%, and a couple of other features that they offer. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, 3.3% doesn't sound like that much, but let me show you why it matters. Let's say that you got $10,000 sitting in Capital One 360 at 3.3%. That is $330 a year just sitting there doing nothing. And if you compare that to what a regular bank is paying you, perhaps it is 0.4%, which, by the way, a lot of traditional banks still pay. That is $4 a year. So if you compare $4 now to 330, that difference is $326 if I'm using my engineering degree, just for using the right account. And I get it, life is busy, you'll figure it out later. But here's the thing, every month you delay is money that you're not getting back. So the math is simple, and the only question is whether or not you are going to take action. So here is, of course, a couple of other features from the website itself. And with that said, let me make this even realer for a second because tax season is real in tax season right now. Hey, let me know if you already got your tax refunds. Where is the money going to go? Is it going to go to spring break, summer vacation, whatever it is? Here's my personal challenge to you. Instead of just letting the money sit in your regular checking account, just waiting for it to be spent, leave it in a high yield savings account while you figure out what to do with it. Even if it's temporarily, even if it's just 60, 90 days, whatever that is, you're still earning something, and that's better than nothing. And that something, of course, adds up. Now, the worst case is you break even, and the best case is you build a new habit that earns you hundreds of dollars a year without extra work. Of course, that is assuming, as we our example, 10 grand or more. But then if you are not at 10 grand yet, don't overwhelm yourself. That's just an example for simplicity. You can start with 100, 500, 1,000, however much it is. It's important to just build a muscle in that consistency. Automate your savings. All right. Now, let's go over two frequently asked questions that I personally get when it comes to these high yield savings accounts and banks overall. Now, hey, what happens if the bank goes under? So here's the deal: if a bank fails, the most likely outcome is that another bank will just buy it out. Big fish eats small fish, and your account just transfers over. You don't lose a dollar and you barely even notice, quite honestly. But let's say that no one buys it. That's when the FDIC steps in, and by law, they have to make you whole. So up to $250,000 within a couple of business days. That's generally the process. Theory, that's what happens. So as long as you are within that threshold, then you are protected. Now, this is exactly why FDIC insurance is on my checklist on what to look for when we are evaluating these organizations. So it's not just a box to check, it's real protection backed by the US government. Now, another question that, hey, tax season right now, as I mentioned, hey, do you have to pay taxes? Yes, you do have to pay taxes on your high yield savings or certificates of deposit. Now, one little trick I want to share here with you is that if you are saving, let's say within the next couple of months, one trick that you can use is T bills, especially if you live in a high tax state. Then treasury bills, you don't pay state taxes or federal, I believe. So go check out my video on T bills versus CDs versus high yield savings, and you're going to learn more about when to use each one of them. So it's very simple. When you pay taxes on your high yield savings, they give you a 1099 INT. They either put it on the website or they send you in the mail, and you can just file it yourself. Takes a couple seconds, or just give it to your accountant. It's like very, very simple. All right, simpler than your W-2 for your job, honestly. Now, let's talk about how you actually use the account day to day, because this is where some online banks can be a little bit frustrating, and I completely understand that. Now, with Capital One 360, you manage everything through their app or their website, of course, is very standard. To move money out, you do an ACH transfer to an external bank. That takes about 1 to 3 business days, which is pretty standard. Or if you have a Capital One checking account, you can move it there instantly. So you have your high yield savings checking, and so you have your ATM card with this account, and then you can just transfer money. Deposits are also straightforward. You can do a bank transfer, direct deposit, mobile check deposit, and their app is actually pretty good. So a lot of people have given good feedback about it. It's easy to navigate. And so Capital One is not just a savings account, but they also, as I mentioned previously, they give you checking, CDs, business services, credit cards. So if you want to consolidate your banking, it's all there in one place. Certainly, I have the Capital One Venture as well, that credit card. And that's a little off topic, but I just wanted to share that. Of course, I've used this organization myself. Now, here's a screenshot from the website on the features that they offer, on their savings, their checking. And when it comes to the pros and cons, there's no perfect organization. So, what are the trade offs that we do here? So, there's no sugarcoating here. Now, competitive APY is something that they offer. They got no fees, no minimum FDIC insurance, all the customer reviews, and they actually have some physical locations. They're limited here. I think there are definitely here in the Northern Virginia area. I've seen them. But of course, if you're in the middle of the country or maybe on the West Coast, then they may not be as available. I haven't seen them. They're here because they're headquartered here in Northern Virginia. But hey, we'll see if they planning on popping up even more locations somewhere else. So definitely more than many online banks out there can offer, for sure, because most banks that offer high yield savings accounts, they are purely online and they don't offer that in branch service. So this is definitely a differentiator with this organization. Now, when it comes to the cons, now the APY definitely could be higher. There are competitors offering 3.9, 4% right now. And here's why I want to be transparent about, because Capital One was actually sued by the CFPB. I'm going to show a screenshot here in the next couple of slides in early 2025. Now, the claim was that they were not paying their savings customers at a higher rate while advertising it to new customers. Now, that's a big deal. The lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed in February 2025. So now it's closed. I don't know what ended up happening. I didn't find that information on whether or not they actually committed what they were alleged to do, right? But this is something that you deserve to know. And hey, actually, let me just show you the next slide here. Here's where it gets into the details on exactly what I just mentioned. This is from the CFPB, and that is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and that's from their own website. The headline speaks for itself. Draw your own conclusions, but also notice that the case was dismissed. So I'll let you decide what that means to you, right? So, hey, this is just something that we should be aware of. That's why I think one of the biggest risk mitigators here, because I have heard not just from this case, but other banks as well, they provide new rates to new customers, but they don't upgrade the current customers to the new rate when the rates are going up overall. So it's important, that's why, to always keep an eye on your high yield savings. And the bank is not automatically upgrading your high yield savings account interest rate, then it's important to just give them a call, and then most likely they'll upgrade you, or worst case scenario, they close your account and just open a new one just so you're a quote unquote a new customer. It is annoying. I get it. Banks absolutely should just give you the latest rate, whatever it is, whether it is more or less. But hey, it's also our responsibility to know what's going on with our accounts. We can't just outsource our finances to banks for us trustworthy or big, whether it's Chase or Bank of America, or Capital One or SoFi, it doesn't matter. We need to be aware of what's going on with our hard earned money. Now, of course, with that being said, now keep in mind that I always say this: no bank is perfect. Every single financial institution, whether it's Capital One, your local credit union, the big four banks out there, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, I don't know what the other one is, but they all have complaints, lawsuits, bad reviews. What matters is whether the pros outweigh the cons for your specific situation. So read the recent reviews. You're already doing a lot of research by watching this video, so I appreciate you staying here with me. Look at the pattern. If it's not just one bad story, so ask yourself, does this fit what I need right now? Because perfect will have you doing nothing forever. So nothing is most expensive than no choice at all. Now, of course, what would I recommend it to my younger self? Would I recommend it to my younger self? Then honestly, probably yes, because if you want a competitive interest rate, you are comfortable managing things online, and you want to set it and forget it kind of account. And as long as you just keep an eye on it and making sure that you are being provided like the latest and great interest rate, then I think it's a solid choice. I don't have an account with them right now, but I wouldn't really mind opening an account if I needed one. In fact, I did have one in the past. I opened it for research purposes, but I ended up not using it because I already had others. It's also a good option if you want to eventually open a checking account and savings under one roof. But if you want a higher APY, there are other options out there pushing around 4%, as it is the case for SoFi. Barclays is around 3.8, 3.75%. So I'm actually going to leave links to the description to those options as well. Currently, my bank is SoFi. I use that for my sinking funds. Now, Capital One savings account doesn't offer that right now. So if you want a full financial hub with investing built in, something like maybe SoFi might be more your speed. So it really comes down to what matters most to you, my friends. Now, by the way, this is actually a picture from our first baby moon with my wife. We went to California. We rented this awesome 1970 T-top Corvette. Oh, it was such a great time. If you've been to California, you've been to like the San Jose, what was it called? Carmel area. And it was just awesome. Just driving by the beach, and it's such a great time. So if you made it this far and you're thinking, yeah, it sounds like a fit for me, then hey, the link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and open an account with Capital One. It takes about 5 minutes. There's no minimum deposit, no fees. Just go do it. And if you want to compare this, a few other options with similar or higher APY before you decide, the link it's going to be in the description as well. Either way, I want you to leave this video with confidence, knowing that you are making the best decision for yourself and your family and your future. With that being said, my friends, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Let me know what kind of reviews or insights you want on the products out there in the financial world, in high yield savings accounts or cash management accounts, investing brokers. So with that being said, thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.